Broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Well, good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to our webinar today, What's New in Creo 5.0? My name is Rob Romanowski. I am the Director of Sales Operations for 3HTI, and we're glad that you can join us today. And our special guest in leading the presentation and demonstration on some capabilities within Creo 5 is Cody Wiltrout, an application engineer with PTC. So a couple of housekeeping items for the presentation today. Everybody's going to be on mute, and I promise not to automatically take anybody off of mute. But if you have any questions, feel free to type those in the dashboard at any time during the presentation. And we will have a Q&A session at the end. But if you have a question that pertains to something that we are currently presenting, we will try to answer that question on the spot if possible. So I just wanted to, I guess, start off by saying something about this graphic that I've chosen here. The reason I chose this for this slide is that it relates to digital transformation, meaning smart connected manufacturing as well as smart connected cities. And you might be thinking, well, what does that have to do with Creo 5.0? But one of the main aspects that's really cool about Creo 5 is its augmented reality and virtual reality capabilities and its integration with the Internet of Things, which is poised to take companies, to support companies and help them succeed in their digital transformation strategies. Now, you might be thinking, what the heck is digital transformation? Or you might already have a digital transformation strategy in place. But basically, this is the definition of what is digital transformation. It's basically the integration of digital technology into the areas of business, fundamentally changing how you operate and deliver value to customers. And Creo is able to do that with its capabilities to help you take that information and be able to share it digitally with people inside and outside of the enterprise, whether it's for design, whether it's for analysis, using augmented reality and virtual reality capabilities to see how a part is going to function in the real world, connecting with the Internet of Things, which is part of it is sensors on your product to get real-time feedback for how that product is performing, is pretty amazing. And this might seem like an overwhelming strategy for some, but I mean, it could be as simple as you need it to be, or it could be as complex as you need it to be. And basically, we're helping our customers implement and develop these types of strategies so that they can bring their products to market faster and also get a better understanding of how the products that they're making, how they work, whether it's in an analysis setting or prototype setting or in a real world setting. So before I hand everything off to Cody, I just wanted to give you that quick introduction. Just a quick survey so we can get an understanding of our audience. What version of Creo are you currently using? Is it 4.0, 3.0? Are you still on Wildfire? Or maybe you're using another CAD system other than Creo. And if you are, welcome to the webinar. Okay. And one more question. What area would be one of your primary interests in Creo? And there is no single answer here. You can actually select more than one answer. If you want to learn more about its augmented reality and virtual reality capabilities, computational fluid dynamics, improvements in sheet metal, improvements in topology optimization, and last but not least, helical sweeps. Excellent. Well, thank you everybody for participating. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to change or give Cody control at this point. Make presenter Cody Wiltrout.
All right, and then I can choose the screen.
So thanks for being
I
with us
believe
today,
I'm
Cody.
showing. Yeah, sure, absolutely. Glad to be able to help. So is my screen coming across right now?
Yes, I see the presentation. What's new in Creo 5?
All right, perfect. All right, well, my name is Cody Wiltrout. I'm with PTC's Virtual Center of Excellence, and I will be going through what's new in Creo 5 with you all today. So to start off, just a little bit of background here, we actually polled some of our companies here to see what some of the biggest challenges that they were facing were. And, 40% of them said that products are constantly getting more complex. We continue to move forward with advancements in technology. Things are constantly getting complex. You're adding electronics, you're getting more detailed in your parts, and that can be a challenge to work with in your traditional CAD tools. And 56% of the customers said, it's important to be fast to launch. If you're not the first person to release something, suddenly you don't have credit for doing it because now you're just someone who's copying the trend. 47% also said that data can provide a competitive advantage and that they'd like to be able to utilize that further in their design and, earlier in when they're modeling inside of Creo. So we tried to take all of that information and try to improve it inside of Creo Parametric 5. So we'll start off with just some productivity improvements. So the first one here is the 3D helical sweep. So you can now create 3D geometries representing parts machined with cutting tools. So in the past, we only had, a 2D cut, so you could see what path it was going along, but you couldn't see what it was actually going to look like or what the cutting tool would do. And so now we have that capability to be able to actually show what the 3D cut would look like, as well as what the tool would look like and the path that it would follow along. There's also been some improvements with being able to do drafts and rounds with drafts with rounds, I should say. So in the past, if you wanted to do a draft on your model and it contained a round or a chamfer, you had to get rid of that before you could do the draft. But Creo is now smart enough to automatically remove that round or draft or that round or chamfer itself, put the draft in, and then put the round or chamfer back in place for you. There's also been some improvement with the mirroring feature. So now you have the ability to preview the geometry before you decide whether or not you want to copy it. So you can see everything that's being mirrored. And you also have the ability to add or remove features. So if you take and you mirror something and after you mirror it, you add some more features to the original thing that you mirrored, you can then add those back in. Or if there are some parts of what you're mirroring that you don't want to mirror, you can choose to remove those beforehand. There's also been some productivity improvements to the mini toolbar. So we've just had some expansions with that so that you can do some 2D and 3D annotations, be able to handle your round and chamfers, just some things that before you would have had to go up to the main toolbar to work with. Now you can work with them from the mini toolbar, so it's a little bit faster and easier to do. We've also done some changes to the appearance to help modernize that a little bit. So the dragger selection appearance has changed a little bit. We've also set it so that the prompt display is now at your cursor so that you don't have to look for it. It's always going to be right where your cursor is at as well. So, small improvements, but things that will help in your day-to-day use of the tool. We also had some improvements to the model tree. So now you can choose to do show only or show except. So rather than going through and choosing to show or hide individually, you can have it show everything except for one part or show only one part and hide everything else at once to be a little bit faster. There's also been some improvement with being able to search inside of the model tree and the filters that you can use for that. There's also been improvements with sketch regioning. So here you can now actually select any enclosed sketch region. So, just some increased productivity with that. You can still do things the way that you used to if, you like the old way of sketching better. This is just an option. If you want to, you can now choose any enclosed section within a sketch region and then work with that area. There's also been improvements with sheet metaling. So you can now do a flat pattern representation here so it can create that for you. So rather than having to save off a separate model that you flattened out, you can go ahead and just create a new flat pattern representation. There's also been some improvements around corner reliefs and conversion tools whenever bringing those sheet metal objects in. We also had improvements with Unite, so we've added Inventor to the list of CAD tools that you can either open as directly inside of Creo or save off as. So now we've got the four. We've got Inventor, Autodesk, SolidWorks, CATIA, and NX that you can now open up directly and save off as. We also have design and perspective in Creo 5 here, so now you can switch between doing perspective view or orthographic view to get a more holistic view whenever you're doing your modeling, if that's something that you're interested in. Freestyle has also seen some improvements, so you now have the ability to preview your import before you finish importing it. You can also do align with curvatures, so in the past it was just align with straight lines. Now you can do it with curves as well. And there's now a box creation mode, so that when you're working in Freestyle, if you want to look at some of your major nodes, see how that's broken down, you can do that in box creation mode. It's a little bit more easy to see clearly where your different sections of that geometry are. So now we're getting into some of the newer extensions as well. So the first one here is topology optimization. So this is what allows you to optimize designs inside of Creo. So it takes, whatever blank geometry you have and takes some design inputs and brings you out your optimized design. So it's fully integrated into Creo so that you don't have to export your model or anything like that. You can work right inside of Creo. It's going to create a parametric geometry for you, not a tessellated surface, so that you can still work with it afterwards. And you can use structural, modal, or thermal analysis to be able to get to the design that you're looking for. So you can drive optimization against multiple objectives at the same time. And I've actually just recently got to work with this, and it was a pretty cool tool. We were designing a spring that we were 3D printing on a lid for something, and whenever we were doing that, we needed to have a set amount of force that the spring was going to be supplying on an object, and at the same time, we wanted to make sure that the spring didn't cause deflection in the lid that we were designing. So we were able to set some constraints around that, and it gave us a new design for our spring model that we're now actually using. We've also had improvements with additive manufacturing. So there's a new lattice type. So we have the truss lattice type, which is traditionally a very strong lattice structure. And we've also had improvements to the simplified visualization. So if you're using this, for example, for maybe doing some analysis, in the past it looked really bad, or not terribly bad, but it was just 2D lines. Now it looks a little bit better for the simplified visualizations that you want to use. There's also now support for conical beams. So if you don't want to use cylindrical beams, or you have a use for conical beams, you don't have to use cylindrical beams anymore. You can now also use conical beams. There's also been improvements with 3D metal printing. So we now offer the ability to connect with 3D metal printers, and it also helps you to manage and automate the support structure generation for those. So unlike plastic printing, whenever you do the support structure for 3D prints in metal, it's a little bit more complicated. You have to take some different factors into account when doing that, and Creo can help to do that now. We also have the Creo mold machining extension, which is again now fully integrated into Creo. It has high-speed machining toolpaths, and it has it's multi-threaded for high-speed calculations. So if you want to use more than one core for from your processor to do that, you can. This also includes advanced roughing and rest roughing, as well as advanced finishing and rest finishing. And it includes the full 3-axis trajectory for hole making. Lastly here, another new extension that we have is Creo flow analysis. So with Creo flow analysis, the idea is to be able to actually utilize computational fluid dynamics earlier in your design stage, so that it's not something that you necessarily have to send off to a specialist at the end to check and make sure that everything works okay, to help you make the optimal design, as opposed to just checking at the end, is this a design that will work? With that being in mind, it's used for ease of use for all engineers, not just specialists. It's going to be able to be worked from directly inside of Creo, so it's a seamless workflow. Again, you don't have to worry about exporting your model and bringing it into a simulation software, and it allows you to make CFD part of your design process early on. And because it's so integrated, you can quickly go in, be able to check your model, see how that fluid analysis looks, go back, make changes to your model, and then run the simulation again to see what changes you're getting very quickly. And it has rapid simulation turnaround with highly accurate results and a lot of different ways to view those results. So here we're showing temperature across the surface as well as streamlines for airflow. So you have a lot of different options in how you want to visualize that data to make sure that you can really utilize the information that you're getting from it. That covers the PowerPoint introduction around what's new in Creo 5. I'll go ahead and jump into the demonstration now. So for today's demonstration around some of the new capabilities inside of Creo 5, we're going to be working with this Polaris snowmobile. So for the demonstration, we're just going to be working with a part as opposed to the whole assembly. So we're going to go ahead and activate that part and get started. So to start with, we're going to be looking at some of the new sketch region capabilities. So we're going to go ahead and turn on our sketch regions here, view those. And we're just going to start selecting some areas. And so you can see that we can select any enclosed area that we want to work with. So you don't have to work with the whole sketch necessarily. You can pick whatever region you want, do whatever normal work you would do. In our case, we're going to do a quick extrude here. And again, if you still have the full capabilities of how you've done your sketching and working with that in the past. It's just some new capabilities here to be able to select enclosed regions if that's maybe a faster way to be able to get to the point that you were trying to go to. So now we'll go ahead and finish doing our second extrude here, and just like that, we were able to do all the work that we needed to just from selecting the enclosed regions. Next, we'll go ahead over and do a volumetrical sweep. So when we do this, we're going to start by selecting the planes that we want to work with. Once we have our plane selected here, we're going to go ahead and start setting some center lines that we're going to utilize for the tool. So we'll pick our first center line, and then we're going to set a second center line out for how far away we want our tool to be coming from. So we can change that distance that we want here for these. And now we can also choose how far down we want that sweep to be going down along. So we'll set another line for how far we want that sweep to go. Now that we've got that information set, we could choose what we want the pitch to be, or we could change that later. And now we can start building out what our cutting tool is going to look like. So you can come in, create simple geometries here to represent your cutting tool. So we'll start just sizing it down to what we're actually looking for. And then we're going to go ahead and zoom in here on this, and we can also add some rounding to our edges here for the cut to make it look just like our cutting tool would. So we're going to round those off here. We can set it so that the radius on both sides is the same, obviously, for our tool, or whatever your tool would look like. You can set it to fit what you're trying to do. Now that we have all of that done, it's going to automatically go ahead and create that sweep for us, so we can quickly see what that's going to look like in 3D along our tool. We can change our pitch. We can add a secondary pitch if we wanted to change over distance here along our cut. Whatever you need to really actually be able to see how that's going to look whenever you do that for manufacturing. And that's the idea here, be able to really design with manufacturing in mind. You can see the path that it's going to follow. You can also turn on what the tool would look like. So here we have our cutting tool that we designed here, and we can run that along the path to see how that would go. Now that we've created our 3D sweep, we're going to go ahead and look at some of the new mirroring capabilities inside of Creo 5. So first off, when we select the feature that we want to mirror, you can see that when we select this, we have the ability to preview what that's going to look like before we choose to accept it or not, to make sure that you are mirroring everything that you want. And now that we have gone ahead and mirrored this, we're going to go ahead and make some changes to the original feature that we mirrored, and then bring those over to our new mirror. So we're going to go ahead and put some rounds here on our edges, and we are also going to add a draft. And so again, you now do not have to remove rounds or chamfers to be able to do drafts on here. Creo will recognize it and be able to do it for you. Now that we've added those rounds in that draft, we can see that we have some differences from our original feature that we mirrored. So all we have to do is come in, say reapply the mirror, and then we can choose what parts we want to add in. So we could choose to just add the rounds, we could choose to just add the drafts, whatever you want to add across the mirror, you can do. Now that we've gone ahead and added our new mirroring part, now we also have some new capabilities around being able to use alternate point origins. So if you have a pattern here and you want to change what your origin point is, Creo 5 allows you to be able to do that. Lastly, we're going to go ahead and be looking at some of the capabilities around the model tree and the searching functionality inside of that. Go ahead and rotate our model here and come over to our model tree, and now we have the full capability of searching inside of here. It brings up everything that we have with Sketch associated in there. And again, you can do some filtering around your searches as well as being able to see any of your recently done searches, and you can see some of the queries by state and things like that below there. That really covers the high-level overview of what's new in Creo 5, as well as seeing some of the capabilities at use there. There's also been some enhancements around Creo AR. So from Creo 4 to Creo 5, you now no longer necessarily have to use a thing mark. You can do some different options around that, and there's been some improvement with those as well. But that covers everything for my end for what's new in Creo 5.
Thanks, Cody. We do have a couple questions that have come in, and if you have any questions, please type them into the dashboard, and we will answer them. First question reads: imagine that you have to do a measurement fixture for a complex part or assembly. Is it possible to do a sweep cut where you would drag the item out of a block of fixture material in a defined direction, leaving a nest that fits the part assembly in question?
So I'm not entirely sure on whether or not you would be able to do that. Do you think you could send that over to me, the full text for it, and then I could reach out to someone who might be able to answer that and get that information back to you?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah, and that's the thing, folks. If for some reason we can't answer your question right now online, we will take your question and get back to you with an answer. Next question: will we have access to the PowerPoints showing updates in Creo 5?
I can share this off with you if you want.
Yeah, there's also a PDF that shows the updates as well. So I'll make sure that everybody on the webinar today receives either the PowerPoint or a PDF showing the updates in Creo 5.0. Next question is: how transparent is writing back Inventor file?
Writing back an Inventor file? I'm not sure I understand entirely. So I mean, as far as if you're referring to Unite being able to bring in the Inventor files and things of that nature, whenever you open it, it won't change the formatting from an Inventor file to a Creo file. You won't have full visibility into the history that was made inside of Inventor. Obviously, we can't pull over the full history, but you will be able to open it, leave it in that native format, and it won't change it won't change from that formatted file until you actually go into the model and make changes to it. If that, I'm not sure if that really answered the question or not, but.
If there's any follow-up needed, just type it in the questions box. Next question: what is the core engine used for the CFD package for Creo?
Right. So we actually partnered with Cimerix, I believe it was, to be able to create that solution. So we took their tool and embedded it into ours. So if you are interested more in CFD or even higher level CFD, let me check that to make sure I am correct. But I believe it's Cimerix. You can, if you go to Cimerix website, you can see even further some of the types of CFD analysis that their tool is capable of. And if you need to get into heavier CFD, then what we provide, that's also an option as well. So Let me see here. Sorry about this, 1 second. I'm trying to find exactly where it says to make sure that I'm right. But I do believe it is Cimerix.
It is Cimerix.
Okay, then yeah. So yeah, our tool is being run from Cimerix tool. So if you have anything more specifically that you want to know about how that portion of it's operating, I would actually look towards them since it's just embedded into Creo.
Gotcha. All right, good deal. Next question. Are there any major differences, or what are the differences in the simulation module for FEA, Creo 5 and Creo 4? And I can get you that information as far as what changes there are, what updates have been made to Creo Simulate with the Creo 5 version.
Yeah, I'm not aware of any major changes. So yeah, if you have a list of any of the minor changes that you can send them, that would be perfect.
Yeah, I can do that. Next question. Could you show me the imported feature preview function for Freeform?
So I unfortunately don't have a demonstration showing that right now. If you are interested in seeing more capabilities around that, I'm sure if you reach out to, to Rob here, someone that we could set up a demonstration to go deeper into that.
Absolutely. Anything that you want to see more in depth and have a demonstration on more in depth, we can do for you on a one-on-one basis, and get more into the weeds about something specifically with that your needs are for Creo. Next question. Oops, hang on. There we go. Did you say that mold manufacturing was embedded in Creo and is not an extension?
So it is embedded, but it is still an extension. Sorry if I misled you there. I just meant to say that similarly to the other ones that you don't have to, go between different tools for it, but it is still an extension, I believe. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, you're correct. It's an extension that you purchase, but once you purchase the extension, it embeds itself within Creo because, like you said, you don't have to leave Creo and go back and forth between the tools. Next question. What solver do you use for your structural optimization module?
For the topology optimization, I'm assuming they're referring to?
I would believe so.
I'm not sure actually who we are partnered with for that. I can take that down. Let me write that down and get that back to you. Yeah, topology optimization is actually a really, really new one. So even for me, it's still pretty new. All right. Are there any more questions still?
I think that may. Let me see. I think that may be it. Yeah, that's it. That's it for the questions.
All
So,
right. Well, I'm.
Go
ahead. I was just saying, I know we have a few to get back to you on. If you can send me that one, and then I'll research who we use for topology optimization. I can send that to you as well.
Yeah, I'm going to, I got to show my screen again, and I'm trying to, can you pass me control?
Oh yeah, how do you do that in GoToMeeting?
Actually, don't worry about it. I will handle it. So hang on. Change presenter, me, and there we go. So basically, I just wanted to give everybody a screenshot of our contact information. If anybody has any questions after the thought, you can just respond to the email that was sent to you as the invite for this webinar. And like Cody said, we have some questions to answer for you guys. We will get back to you with those answers. But if there's any specific things that you want to see demonstrated in Creo 5, we're more than happy to do that. If there's anything you think of after the fact, feel free to email us at info@3hti.com. My contact information is here if you want to contact me directly. And also, once again, you can just respond to the emails that were sent as far as the invitation and confirmation for this webinar. So Cody, I want to thank you for being on today, and I want to thank everybody else for attending our webinar, and we will talk with you soon. Thanks, everyone. Take care and have a great
Thanks for
day.
your time, everyone.